Oh, no, that's right. That's a lie. We need to read the whole thing.
Not prime real estate. It is.
Start worrying about it.
It's all right.
I'd like to call the Poquoson City School Board meeting for March to order. And Marissa, could you kick us off, please?
Eli Tyndall will lead us in the pledge. Eli is in Miss Bowen's first grade class. He is the son of Toby and Mike Tyndall. He loves to play basketball, and Eli's favorite subject is PE.
Please stand to the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ava Gorman will provide our inspirational reading. Ava is also a student in Miss Bowen's first grade class. She is the daughter of John and Sandy Gorman. She loves to sing, and her favorite subject this year is math. Ava will read a poem by William Prideaux titled Our Flag.
It flies high up in the skies for all the world to see, a beautiful symbol of this land of freedom and liberty. It's flown for over 200 years above this wondrous land, and many a soldier gave his life to ensure it continues to stand. When former POWs were asked what helped to get them through, many showed tattered pieces of cloth of the colors red, white, and blue. So let us not forget the men who forged this land we love and the symbol they created to fly the skies above. Remember to honor this beautiful flag every time it passes you by. Stand and show the proper respect, and long may it continue to fly.
Okay, next we're going to go into student presentations, and if I could ask all the parents and students if you could please stick around for just a few minutes, maybe 10 or 15 or so, and we're going to take an intermission so board members can come out and meet everyone. Our student presentation tonight is entitled God Bless America by Ms. Bowen's first grade class from Poquoson Primary School. The students are under the direction of Ms. Poto, music teacher. Ms. Bowen's class will be performing this song along with the first grade classes on Monday, March 24th, when they present their concert, A Musical Salute to America.
Let us wear
Thank you, boys and girls. That was absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Poto. And Mr. Melton, would you like to say a word?
Yes, I would like to say a word. That was a fantastic performance. But I had a real pleasure last Friday night. Last Friday night, I attended the Virginia Symphony at the Ferguson Center, and I was able to see 6 of our music educators from Poquoson recognized from the Virginia Symphony as outstanding music instructors in our schools, and that included, of course, Ms. Poto here tonight. So you know what your children are looking forward to. We had also Scott Bombau from the Poquoson High School Chorus recognized, Terry Eberly from the Poquoson Middle School Chorus recognized, Susan Northcutt from the Poquoson Elementary School recognized, of course, Miss Kim Poto, Miss Judy Powell from the Poquoson Middle School Band, and Doug Spruill from the Poquoson High School Band. I was very proud to be a citizen of Poquoson on Friday evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any additions or modifications to the agenda?
We do not.
Okay, next we'll move into recognitions.
Our first recognitions this evening are for wrestlers who were very successful at the recent 3A state wrestling competition. So what I'd like to do is I'll bring them forward one by one, but ask them to stay so we can have them all up here at one point. So first, if Hunter Wright would please come forward. Hunter is a senior at Poquoson High School. He won 3rd place in the 106-pound category at the state competition. Last year, he placed 4th at the state and 6th in nationals held during the summer. This year, he won his sectional competition and also placed 3rd in the regional competition. After high school, Hunter wants to attend a 4-year college to major in marketing and eventually receive an MBA. Please join me in congratulating Hunter Wright for placing 3rd in the state. Trent Graham. Trent, also senior, won 3rd place in the 220-pound category. He has wrestled all 4 years of high school. This year, his record was 36 wins, 5 losses, with 31 pins. Trent is undecided about his college plans, but is considering Coastal Carolina, ODU, or Radford, and at this time is unsure of his major. Please join me in congratulating Trent Graham on winning 3rd place in the state. Riley Howe. Not here tonight. We'll bring Riley back to another meeting. Ross Graham. Ross is a sophomore and won 1st place at the state competition in the 182-pound category. He came in 3rd place last year as a freshman and was named a National High School All-American. Ross had a perfect season this year with a record of 45 wins and no losses. He has a high school career record of 88 wins and 7 losses. Please join me in congratulating Ross on placing 1st place in the state. And again, congratulations to all 3 of you, as well as to our coach. It certainly was an exciting season. I know I enjoyed watching many of the wrestling matches, and we look forward to next year. So congratulations, boys. Next, we're going to make a presentation to our art teachers, and we are presenting on the behalf of Mrs. Debbie Scott of the Poquoson Art League, who was unable to be here this evening to make the presentation to each of the art teachers. So she's asked us to do that for her. So I would ask that our art teachers come forward, and first Ms. Helena Mulligan from the primary school. Marcel Fincher from the elementary school. Stephanie Thompson from the middle school. And Paula Bennett from the high school. We need to send a big loud thank you to the Poquoson Art League. Tonight, they've donated $3,000 to our 4 schools for art supplies and materials, so thank you. I know many of you get to see the artwork in our schools that our wonderful art teachers do with our students, so a big thank you to our art teachers for all they continue to do for us as well. Our next presentation is actually going to be given by Ms. Gwen Lee. She is the Joint Service Military Liaison Officer, and she'd like to make a presentation to 3 of our staff members this evening. First, I'd like to ask Mrs. Cawley, who is our Assistant Superintendent for Instruction Support Services, to come forward. And then our principals from the middle school, Mr. Todd Pirelli, and from the high school, Mr. Bernard Wright.
Mr. Chairman Cotter, Superintendent Dr. Parrish, and board members, good afternoon. I'm Gwen Lee, the School Liaison Officer for Langley Air Force Base, and I'm honored to stand before you and recognize 3 of Poquoson City Schools' stellar staff administrators. Ms. Amy Colley and Principals Bernard Wright and Todd Pirelli allowed me as the School Liaison Officer to host in Poquoson Middle and High School a Department of Defense program called Tutor.com. Tutor.com was designed for our mobile military children to have access to tutors online, live 24 hours. Poquoson City Schools has set the standard as the first district which has had this facilitation within their schools. And so on behalf of Langley Air Force Base, the Department of Defense, and the program Tutor.com, Ms. Amy Colley, I present you this certificate of appreciation and say thank you so much for being such a dynamic partner. Mr. Perrielli, thank you so very much. I appreciate it. And Mr. Wright, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I thank Ms. Gwen Lee for all the support she provides to us and to the military families that are part of our community here in Poquoson. So thank you for your continued support. I want to, before we go to intermission, thank our wonderful first graders who have just done a phenomenal job tonight and have sat here so quietly. It just shows how wonderful our kids are. And all you parents out there, some of you that did not get to videotape this board meeting will be on our website under school board meetings within the next couple of weeks. So relatives from across the country can see their performances. And I'll turn it to Dr. Carter.
And we'll go into intermission right now so that we can come out and meet some of you.
I love those kids here every time. Every time.
Wow, it's empty now. Echo, echo, echo.
Downhill from here.
See you later.
Thumbs up. Okay, next we'll go into presentations and reports, and first up is our financial update with Mr. Bowen.
Good evening, Dr. Carter, school board members, and Dr. Parrish. For the finance update this evening, as we move into final stages of budget, I wanted to provide the board with some background information regarding our health and dental benefits. I touched on a little bit about this at our February meeting, but we didn't have all of our information. But I wanted just to give you a brief overview, again, as we move into budget. Let me begin with our dental benefits. This is one of the optional benefits that we provide to our employees. Our current carrier is United Concordia, and good news for 2015, there are no premium changes for dental benefits. This is the third consecutive year that we've had no increase in our dental premiums. Our last change in the dental benefits occurred in 2012 when PCPS went out to bid and resulted in changing from Delta Dental to United Concordia. Through this bid process, our rates decreased 4%, and as a result of this change, we were also able to add an orthodontics benefit for the first time. Now, we provide a brief history of our health insurance, and I'll start with 2010 because this is the first year that we start to see the significant state budget cuts and how they were impacting our overall budget, but also how our benefits played an important role in that. In 2010, we introduced a flexible spending account for the first time. This is not part of a health plan, but this is an added benefit that allows employees to set aside tax-free money to pay for out-of-pocket medical expenses. Premiums for 2010 increased about 5%, and as a result of budget cuts, PCPS absorbed all of the rate increases, and employee rates did not change. In 2011, premiums increased about 7%. However, to get to that 7% increase, we had to make a couple of changes. Our co-pays for our plans were increased from $10 for our primary care and $20 for our specialty care. They were increased to $20 and $40. And this change, although it did impact employees, this brought our co-pays in line with the industry standards. And as a result of budget cuts, PCPS was able to absorb all of the rate increases, and employee rates remained unchanged. In 2012, a couple of things happened. First, the claims experience for 2011 was extremely high. And as a result of that very high experience, we will see the next year an increase in our rates. But also, this was the first year that we start to see the implementation and impact of the Affordable Care Act. Two things happened with that. The first was the added preventative care that was covered at 100%, and also our children now are covered up to age 26. So to get to this 11% increase, this was our final, our initial increase was about 15%. So in order to get down to 11%, we had to do a couple of things, and we asked the Benefits Committee to provide us some help. First of all, we eliminated one of our two HMO plans and our PPO plan. We also introduced a high deductible plan with a health savings account, and we're one of the first school divisions in the region to do so. As a result of the changes, and as a result of some budget cuts, PCPS absorbs the rate increase, and employee rates, again, remain unchanged. In 2013, premiums increased about 5%. Now, this was a very good year. PCPS was able to absorb all the increase, and again, employee rates remained unchanged. In 2014, it was our time to go back out to market, so we went out to bid. So this time last year, we had an RFP on the street, and we received two qualifying bids, one from Optima and one from Anthem. And Optima, who was our current carrier, had a proposed increase of 8%. Anthem provided a decrease of 5%, and as a result of that, we actually changed carriers last year. And PCPS was able to utilize the savings to reduce budget cuts in other areas of the budget. And again, employee rates remained unchanged. And in 2015, our initial proposal that just came in after our February board meeting was 11.5%. And we went back to Optima and we asked them to look at a little more data and take an extra month to see if that would change. And they came in with a final rate at 10%. So they cut it down by 1.5%. The cost increase to this 10% increase is $125,000. Now, this is a significant increase. This is the second highest increase that we've seen in the past 5 years. However, our actual increase as a result of the claims and experience is only 5.9%, which is in line with the good years that we saw in 2010 and 2013. The problem that we see here is the Affordable Care Act. It's responsible for 4.1%. So the Affordable Care Act is now we're starting to see fees that will impact us for the next 2 years. However, what we understand from Anthem and from our consultant is that with the continual extension of the mandates, that these fees may also be extended. So this may be a problem that we continue to deal with instead of 2 years, possibly longer. Since our February meeting, I've met with the Benefits Committee, and the Benefits Committee made up of teachers at all 4 schools. We discussed the possibility of increasing employee rates to partially offset the increase in costs. We asked that the committee take this information back to the schools and share it with their staff, which they did, and they received feedback from the staff. And that feedback is part of what we used in developing a plan for our final budget. That's my report this evening. I wanted to provide you with the background information as we head into the work session and the superintendent releases her budget for 2015. Thank you.
Does anybody have questions? Yes, sir.
Bill, I'm just curious. The HSA, is there a high participation rate in the HSA?
There is not a high participation rate. We have about 12 employees. It started with 2, and now we're up to 12, and each year we seem to grab a few more.
We're going in the right direction.
Right.
Anybody else? Do we have a definitive on the fees that you're talking about, or because of the Affordable Care Act?
There's 2 fees in place. There's one that's 2.5% of the overall premium that we pay, and then there's also an individual fee that we have to pay per participant. It's $6, I believe, and 35 cents per participant per month. So it's about 76 and some change per year per employee. And these fees were enacted to help fund the exchanges, the state exchanges, and so since some changes have been made and mandates have been extended, we don't believe that there's enough money to fully fund these exchanges. So that's why we're thinking that these fees could actually be extended another few years. However, if they aren't extended, what we will see is we should see in 2 years a reduction in our health plan. This was only supposed to be a temporary increase for the Affordable Care Act, but this is the first year it's really impacted us to this degree. We did see a previous change in 2012, but not to this impact.
Okay. Do you know what the contingencies are? You said that's okay. I'm not sure. Okay. Anybody else? All right, thank you very much, sir. And next up will be our operations update from Mr. Pappas.
Good evening, Chairman Carter, School Board, and Dr. Parrish. In the operations world, one of our facets is safety. And last week, all of our schools participated in the tornado drill. I actually went and observed the students in the primary school, and they did a tremendous job. You may recall earlier this year, we discussed the fact that Poquoson City Public Schools was applying for all 4 schools to receive grant money for equipment associated with the School Security Equipment Grant Program. This program provided equipment including walkie-talkies, door access control at the middle school, which is identical to what we already have at the primary school and the high school, a visitor registration system, and new cameras at the high school. And we've gone through that process, and last week we received reimbursement from the state in the amount of $47,040. In the area of food service, PCPS 2 weeks ago received a review audit from the Virginia Department of School Nutrition Services. That audit was a 2-day process in which they came down and looked at all of our records, making sure that we were in compliance with all of the facets of the many programs that were involved in National School Lunch Program, Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act, and such. At the culmination of that multi-day inspection, we were told that we had done very well. We'll get our final results within 30 days. In the area of transportation, this year has presented some significant weather impacts for us in transportation, among other areas. For example, just over a week ago, we had to modify bus runs to facilitate dropping off students due to nuisance flooding. This practice is normal for us, and we've done that for years. But that gave rise to the notion of creating modified bus runs for possible use in some other inclement weather scenarios, such as in the event of a snowstorm. It might be possible to work with the city's public works folks to determine if primary and key secondary roads within our city are clear to traffic and such that we could move safely about. In that instance, we would use modified bus runs to facilitate the pickup and drop-off of students. Again, we would work with the city staff this summer to facilitate those routes and how we would best do that. We'd publish that in time for the school year 2014-2015 in September. And I will notify you as we culminate that practice. Again, we would only use these routes if it was safe to do so, and I will get you the information as we conclude. And then finally, we're making some changes this week as a result of some unanticipated staffing changes. We'll be making phone calls using our automated system out to parents, notifying them that next week, while their bus stop is the same, the times and the bus number that they may be on may be affected. And that's my operations report.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody have questions or anything? Thank you very much. And next up with Ms. Colley, our instructional update.
Good evening, Dr. Carter, members of the board, Dr. Parrish. My instructional update this evening will provide information on volunteering in our schools and also on our library media centers. A review of research by the Corporation for National and Community Service shows that people who aid the causes they value tend to be happier and in better health. They show fewer signs of physical and mental aging. And it's not just that these helpful people tend to be healthier and happier. Helping others actually causes happiness. About 1/4 of Americans volunteer, and of those, 1/3 volunteer more than 100 hours each year. Our schools are no exception, and our principals and our teachers tell us they couldn't do what they do every day without the help of volunteers. Volunteers in Poquoson schools help in many ways. They provide support for instruction. They tutor, assist in classrooms, in media centers, and in art rooms. They share their expertise by presenting to classes. They support instruction by chaperoning many, many field trips, and they monitor the halls and restrooms during our testing. Volunteers provide support for extracurricular activities too, by supporting athletics, band, and chorus in ways way too numerous to mention tonight. Likewise, our volunteers help with clubs at all levels, and they're the lifeblood of keeping secondary dances going. Volunteers perform many administrative and materials prep duties to assist our teachers. The Helping Hands group prepares games and instructional activities for teachers at the primary school. In all our schools, volunteers copy and prepare materials so that teachers can spend more time on instruction. Even our students volunteer in their own schools. Poquoson High School students serve as special friends and volunteer over at the primary school. I couldn't share information about our strong volunteer programs in Poquoson schools tonight without calling attention also to our Parent-Teacher Association and organizations. These groups exist to support our schools, bringing arts and cultural events to the schools, promoting and sponsoring activities, and assisting teachers really in any way they need. There is incredible value in serving others, and I think that you'll agree that this community supports its schools very well through its volunteers. I know that the board will join me and the school staffs in thanking all our volunteers for their service. The other piece of my presentation concerns our school library media centers. April is School Library Month, and this evening I'd like to share a few highlights of those programs. At Poquoson High School, the Library Media Center continues to see an increase in usage by classes from every curricular area, as well as individual students and teachers. Part of this increased usage is due to a primary focus on research, technology, and literacy skills in the Library Media Center this year. At Poquoson Middle School, an average of 100 students join Ms. Tyler in the library each month for a lunch bunch, a time to gather together, enjoy lunch, and talk books. If you've ever been to the middle school library, I'm sure you've noticed that that room is rarely empty. The elementary and primary library media centers buzz with activity too. Just walk into either and you're likely to see multiple classes engaged in traditional book selection, online research and project development, lessons in appropriate media usage, author studies, book talks, and many other activities. American Western author Louis L'Amour wrote, "For one who reads, there is no limit to the number of lives that may be lived. For fiction, biography, and history offer an inexhaustible number of lives in many parts of the world in all periods of time." In Poquoson City Schools, our library media centers provide rich and fertile ground for our students to develop into lifelong readers and lifelong learners. And this concludes my instructional update for the evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
Have we done anything to track the number of volunteer hours and maybe determine a cost that would have been associated had we had paid staff doing that work? Or is there a way that we can perhaps start tracking that?
Well, certainly the schools track volunteers in many different ways in terms of signing in and signing out, but I don't know of any, that's probably something we could really look into of tracking exactly what folks are doing and maybe doing some cost analysis. But currently, outside of PTA logs and school logs, I'm not sure that.
The Department of Labor tracks volunteer time and gives a numerical to that. It's $20. It was $20.85 2 years ago. I don't know how that has changed, but nor do I know the formula that they used to come up with it. But I know it was $20.85 2 years ago for 1 hour volunteer time.
Certainly something we can look into to tracking. We may be able to use some of the new technology to see if that would help do it too. So we'll look into it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Get a volunteer to help you out.
We'll get a volunteer to help you. Yes.
You might very well receive a computer geek that would love to help you do that.
Absolutely. Someone who writes grants may have that information already.
There
You
you
have to
go.
put it in your grant proposals.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Cass, could you take us through the consent agenda, please?
Sure. The consent agenda tonight includes the following, which are all enclosed in the board packet. Approval of minutes of February regular meeting, work session, and public forum. Approval of financial reports. Approval of personnel action. and authorization to accept and expend funds in accordance with the enclosed request.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
And the second?
Second.
And Ms. McDowell, could you call for a vote, please?
Ms. Rollins?
Aye.
Mr. Hucks?
Aye.
Ms. Whitaker?
Aye.
Ms. Sidner?
Aye.
Mr. Melton?
Aye.
Mr. Cast?
Aye.
Chairman Carter?
Aye.
The motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you. Next up, other matters for consideration. First is consideration of approval of minutes of the special February meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the special February meeting minutes?
So moved.
And the second?
Second.
And Ms. McDowell, could you call for a vote, please?
Ms. Rollins?
Aye.
Mr. Hucks?
Aye.
Ms. Whitaker?
Aye.
Ms. Sidner?
Aye.
Mr. Melton?
Aye.
Mr. Cast?
Abstain.
Chairman Carter?
Aye.
The motion passed by a vote of 6-1 abstain.
Thank you. And lastly, consideration of approval of the proclamation for National Public School Volunteer Week, which was enclosed, and Ms. Colley did a great job of outlining the many ways that our volunteers serve in the schools, everywhere from simply coming in and helping teachers, like you said, with prepping games, homemade games, or cutting out letters, chaperoning field trips and dances and band concerts, just everything. And we really appreciate all that the community does to support our schools. So do I have a motion to approve the proclamation for National Public School Volunteer Week?
So moved.
And the second?
Second.
Does anybody have any comments there? Okay, Ms. McDowell, could you call for a vote, please?
Ms. Rollins?
Aye.
Mr. Hucks?
Aye.
Ms. Whitaker?
Aye.
Ms. Sidner?
Aye.
Mr. Melton?
Aye.
Mr. Cast?
Aye.
Chairman Carter?
Aye.
The motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have any public comment?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, thank you. Communications, Dr. Parrish, would you like to kick us off, please?
Yes, I just would like to start off with a reminder, as Mr. Pappas mentioned, and we all know well, winter has wreaked havoc for all of us, and I am just hoping that we are done with it after this week, but I'm not so sure we won't have snow in May at this rate. But a reminder to the community that because of our most recent storm, that we will now be using April 21st as a makeup day. So students will be in school. You as board members approved that at the special meetings, which minutes you just approved. So we'll see students and all staff in on that day. Also, just as a reminder, as was mentioned earlier, I will be presenting my proposed budget in your work session this evening. But for the community, I will get that recorded and online by the end of this week. So it'll be available for everybody to listen to and to see. And we will also get it on our TV channel as well. And I'll be going to all 4 schools tomorrow afternoon to do the presentation. And on March 27th, we will have a public hearing on my proposed budget. And that will be here at 6 o'clock in council chambers. And I just also want to add my thank you to all the volunteers who work so hard for our schools. I see them in there in so many ways as I go in and out of the schools. But also another form of volunteering are the donations that are made to our schools, certainly what the Art League donated to our teachers tonight, and our Poquoson Education Foundation that just recently donated $10,000 worth of grants to teachers in all 4 schools. So they donate time, and also they are helping us during these very challenging fiscal times as well, and we certainly appreciate that. And those are my comments for the evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Marissa?
Good evening. Many exciting activities are taking place at our school this month. Poquoson Primary School has been celebrating their love of reading in many ways. Read Men Read Day was the kickoff celebration. Author Evan Schneidinger began the Read Men Read Day by reading his new book, I Was a Superhero, last night. Men from Poquoson read aloud to each classroom, 20 men in all. The celebrations continued with Read Across America Week when students and staff dressed up in book-themed costumes. Poquoson Elementary School teachers helped celebrate Read Across America Week with Miss Griffith and Miss Weeks, 3rd grade teachers at PES, participated in the school's annual Family Reading Night. They dressed up as characters from The Cat in the Hat. Fifth grade enjoyed a visit from NASA scientists. Dr. Robert Moses, a NASA atmospheric flight and entry system scientist, gave a presentation to Mrs. Ostrander's and Miss Avery's classes. Poquoson Middle School will start their 27-week test on March 19th, and exam schedules are posted on Edline. 8th graders will be taking the multiple choice writing SOL March 18th through 20th. Freestyle pictures will take place on April 1st, and the 7th grade musical will be taking place at 7 p.m. on April 3rd. Poquoson High School has had many exciting events take place, and we have a lot of people to congratulate tonight. I would first like to start with Brandon Skloot and Tyler Sproul on being selected for the All Virginia Band at auditions held at JMU. We would also like to congratulate Megan Peterson and Jesse Spencer on their performance at the Regional Track and Field Championship held in Richmond, Virginia. Tyler Sproul and Jesse Sheeler for taking place in the Great Computer Challenge. Congratulations to Kenny Forrest and Landon Hill, who competed in the Sea Perch Underwater Robotics Competition last Saturday. They took first place for their poster presentation and second place in the obstacle course. We want to also congratulate the Poquoson High School Concert and Symphonic Band. Concert Band received an excellent rating, and Symphonic received a superior rating. Lastly, PHS would like to thank Ms. Laufenberger and SCA for an awesome dance last Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rollins?
No, I have nothing, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hux?
Thank you, Dr. Carr. No comment tonight.
Ms. Whitaker?
Nothing tonight, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Sidner?
I have a couple of things. I'd like to report that today I attended the HREDA Educational Advisory Committee meeting at WHRO in Norfolk. We had a great presentation on the online courses that WHRO offers, and as soon as I get meeting minutes from that, I'll send them out to everybody. I would also like to, I attended the Tidewater Science Fair this past weekend, and I would like to thank Dr. Cataldo. I know it was a very long day for him. He was our division sponsor and a committee member, and I know it was, for the students, I know it was a long day, so I know it was a long day for you. But I'd like to also thank the science teachers who either sponsored the students that entered the fair, whether it be they had incentives of extra credit or whatever motivation they had for these students. But would also thank them for taking the time after school one day. They had a dry run for all the participants in the science fair, so that, and all this, the high school science teachers came by and were like the judges and critiqued each of the science boards that they had. I thought it was great. It was a great initiative. Dr. Cataldo said that they'll carry that on in future years, so that's good. So it was a great showing for Poquoson, and it was very enjoyable, and I just wanted to thank the teachers that support that, and the school as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Melton?
Yes, I had a privilege of attending a couple different things. On February 20th, I attended the Poquoson Education Foundation Real Men Read program, and I read half of Rocking in My School Shoes with Pete the Cat, because it seems like the students knew the verse every time I got to the page. They sang it right out. They knew it very well. So I only read half the book to Miss Keener's second grade class, but it was a really nice and well-attended event by many of the men in Poquoson, representing every facet of business and leadership here in our city. I was also able to attend the Poquoson City Public Schools Wellness Issues Open House, and as part of that, besides all the wellness booths, and they were very popular, and there was a lot of people there visiting, I was also able to partake of a couple different presentations by the schools, sat in with the guidance department, working with a couple parents. That was a well-done presentation, and I had the privilege of sitting in with the assistant principals, kind of a 6-on-1 session. I was the one. Anyway, it was a very interesting discussion. Besides that, I think Steve Pappas and Dr. Parrish, you've made some great decisions on our weather in the last 4 weeks, when to close and when to open and when to go and you know, when to stay home. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Cass?
Yeah, I'd like to thank and also comment on how much I enjoyed Mrs. Bowen's first grade class tonight. I've never heard a more enjoyable God Bless America presentation. And I'd also like to thank all the volunteers. I know volunteers are the lifeblood of so many organizations in our community. And on that note, I'd like to thank my colleagues on the school board because we are volunteers, and these folks here do a fantastic job, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to start out, Ms. Lee, I'd like to thank you again for coming out tonight and enlightening us on the tutor.com program. That's just absolutely amazing that you can get live tutoring 24 hours a day. That's just crazy, but I appreciate you coming out and acknowledging some of our staff and giving us a little bit of information about the program. Also, I would like to reiterate what Ava Gorman said tonight in her inspirational reading when she said, let's not forget the men and women who served to make this country as great as it is and to fight and be willing to die for our freedom. We can't ever forget that. That's what has made this country what it is, and I would like to echo her words that let's never forget them and their families as well, because they sacrifice at least as much as the men and women who actually serve. So thank you very much for that. Also, the Poquoson Education Foundation's 4th annual fundraiser is going to be March 29th at the Yacht Club, and that'll be from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock. And I believe you can get to that www.pefva.org
To buy tickets.
to buy tickets. Thank you very much. And let's see, do we have any material for board review?
We do not this evening.
With that, we will adjourn to our work session where we will hear the superintendent's proposed budget.
Let's see.